What's up everyone and welcome back to the UFC News Hub. Today let's get started with Strickland hanging out with Vanilla Ice. Here's the clip.
Oh, the legend himself, this bad mother. Let's get it done. Out here at Supercross, bro. Let's get it.
Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Alex Pereira changes mind about Jon Jones. Alex Pereira has officially changed his mind about training with Jon Jones, and it's a shift that could have some interesting implications for the future. Not long ago, Pereira had openly talked about the idea of training with Jones. Back then, it seemed like a mutual interest. The two had reportedly been discussing the possibility for a while. Pereira even said he wanted to experience firsthand what training with the heavyweight champion would be like. But now, as Pereira prepares for his next title defense at light heavyweight, that entire plan seems to be off the table. Recently, Bloody Elbow asked Pereira if training with Jones was still on his radar, and through his interpreter, Pereira responded, "Honestly, I don't think that makes much sense anymore." Pereira said, "Back when I said that, I would like to fight at heavyweight. People have already put the dots together and mentioned Jon Jones. That's speculated, even if it's just by fans. So I wouldn't want to go and train with him now, and then if we end up fighting, people will start saying a bunch of stuff about whatever is in the fight. I think it wouldn't make sense now, but if we were to fight one day and then go train, I think it would make total sense." That response isn't entirely shocking, especially considering how much attention a potential fight between Jones and Pereira has already received. Jon Jones has also been open about his thoughts on Pereira. "I'd rather fight Pereira than Tom Aspinall," Jones has said repeatedly in interviews. For Jones, the idea of fighting a striker as dangerous and decorated as Pereira probably feels like the kind of legacy fight that excites him. However, despite Jones's interest, UFC President Dana White made the UFC's current stance very clear. "We're focused on making Jones versus Aspinall happen," Dana said recently. That's the fight the UFC is actively pushing for, at least for now. Pereira, meanwhile, has no time to get caught up in hypothetical super fights. He's got a massive challenge in front of him next weekend at UFC 313, where he'll defend his light heavyweight title against Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev is one of the most dangerous and well-rounded fighters in the division, and if Pereira wants to keep his belt and continue building his legacy, he'll have to get through him first. Still, it's impossible not to think ahead. If Pereira successfully defends his belt and Jon Jones gets past Stipe Miocic and maybe even Tom Aspinall, the stars could align for a super fight in 2025. A clash between Pereira and Jones, two champions from different divisions with world-class striking and unique skill sets, would be one of the biggest fights the UFC could possibly make. The storylines are already built in: two elite martial artists, mutual respect, a potential past as training partners that never came to be, and the ultimate test of technique, power, and fight IQ. So what do you think? Is Pereira making the right call by keeping his distance from Jones now, just in case that fight becomes a reality? And if they meet inside the octagon in 2025, who do you think comes out on top? UFC posted footage of Magomed Ankalaev preparing to fight Alex Pereira. The two are set to fight next weekend at UFC 313.
Вот, молодец, вот, через корпус начинай. Вот, отлично, еще. Последний удар себя бьет. Сколько осталось? О, еще. Концов. Забирай. Вот через корпус рука зайди. Последний, много бей. Постоянно бей. Бей. Молодец. Отлично.
Belal Muhammad sends a message to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Belal Muhammad has officially sent a message to Shavkat Rakhmonov, and it's a clear sign that the welterweight champion is keeping his eyes on both the present and the future. Muhammad and Rakhmonov have traded a few verbal jabs through social media and interviews, but despite that back and forth, Belal doesn't deny that Shavkat fully deserves a crack at the belt. Initially, the two were set to fight at UFC 310 last December, but that plan fell apart when Muhammad was forced out with a severe bone infection. Instead, Ian Machado Gary stepped in to face Shavkat, and Rakhmonov kept his undefeated record intact by grinding out a decision win over the rising Irish star. That victory only further cemented Shavkat's status as the next man in line, and for a while, it looked like Muhammad versus Rakhmonov was the fight to make. But once again, fate had other plans. Recently, the UFC revealed that Shavkat is now dealing with an injury, leading to Muhammad getting booked against Jack Della Maddalena at UFC UFC 315 on May 10th. Even with all the schedule shuffling, Magomed hasn't lost sight of Rakhmonov and his place in the division. Earlier this week, Magomed spoke with MMA Junkie, and when asked about Shavkat, he gave a sincere and respectful response. "I feel like he deserves it. He earned it with the Ian Gary fight." Belal said, "It's so easy to get injured in this sport. The training is the hardest part of the sport. We just saw it recently with Dan Hooker and Arman Tsarukyan. It sucks. And like I said, I am building my legacy and want to take these guys' O's. The next younger generation, that's the JDMs, that's the Shavkats. Unless there's a big fight with Joaquin Buckley, or if he goes out there and gets a big win over somebody, I think he could earn it. But right now, I'm looking at him, then at Shavkat. It's hard to argue with Magomed's mindset. Shavkat Rakhmonov's resume speaks for itself. He's a perfect 19-0, and even more impressively, he's finished 18 of those opponents. That's a level of dominance you rarely see in the UFC's welterweight division. He's already run through big names like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Neil Magny, and Jeff Neal. But despite all that, there's still one big question hanging over Rakhmonov's head. Has he ever faced someone with the relentless cardio, suffocating pressure, and gritty wrestling that Belal Magomed brings to the table? And of course, there's another twist in the story. Jack Della Maddalena, the rising Australian contender, will have his chance to shake up the entire division when he faces Magomed at UFC 315. If JDM pulls off the upset and becomes champion, the roadmap for the welterweight title changes overnight. So now the question goes to you. Do you see Belal holding onto his belt and eventually colliding with Shavkat down the line? Or will JDM spoil those plans and make a name for himself as the new king at 170 pounds? Dustin Poirier got roasted last night at the Lafayette Comedy Roast Battle. Here's the clip.
Dustin, hold on, Dustin. I don't want to fight you. Actually, I ain't scared of you, bro. I know how to take you down, bro. All I gotta do is get behind the title. You'll never reach me.
Last night's bout between Manel Kape and Asu Almabayev, many fans highlighted a controversial moment where Kape appeared to land a double eye poke. Henry Cejudo, who recently lost to Song Yadong via technical decision following an eye poke incident, shared his reaction to the situation. He wrote, "Eye pokes are the greatest threat to the growth of this sport unbiased." This user replied to Henry saying, "Do you really think momentum was in your favor moving forward without the poke?" Henry responded saying, "Yes, I really do, William." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more MMA news and updates. See you next time.